So I want to preface this video real quick by saying that this is just meant to be a friendly response video. This guy's YouTube handle is Chad the Third. He's a Leo player. I believe he's a Tekken Emperor currently. So the guy knows his shit. He's a good, solid Tekken player from what I've seen. I've watched several of his videos. I'm a fan of his content, so if you like what you see and think he's a decent content maker, fucking subscribe to the guy. I'll leave his channel link down below in the description of this video. I came across this video a little while ago, and I've seen a few of his videos regarding the whole honesty factor in Tekken, and I just felt like a healthy response and maybe a little bit of healthy dialogue amongst community members, not just him and myself, but everybody in the comments of both of our videos as well, should have a little bit of input on this. What are, what is actual honesty in Tekken and in fighting games in general? Because in my opinion, it's not something that we can objectively measure. Honesty is such a fan-made term that it doesn't really get much more fan-made than honest. The word honest. It's not even a term I really appreciate using. I have a list of characters that I consider honest for reasons that may differ from some people, because I don't think you can really, there's not a very good metric to measure honesty in Tekken. He has a system in place, and we're going to go over everything that he has to say in terms of the systems, the three types of honesty, or dishonesty as he's saying right now, and let's see what he has to say, and we'll break it down bit by bit as we go along. But I disagree with him on some points, I agree with him on some points, and I'm not trying to get a hostile argument out of this. I want a healthy, friendly discussion. I'm not here to make enemies. I'm just here to engage in interesting dialogue about the game that we all love. So, there was a comment in one of his older videos that I left that he seemed to heavily disagree with me on, and we had a little bit of a back and forth in the comments, but this is a far more effective way of getting one's point across with a video response, because at least you can hear the tone of my voice and understand that I'm not coming at you with a hostile attitude. Just because I disagree with you doesn't mean I think he's a piece of shit. As I said, I'm subscribed to the guy, and I watch his videos. So I think you guys should do the same. And he's a great person and a decent Tekken player from what I've seen. So there's really nothing negative to say about the guy. Disagreements can be had without jumping down each other's throats, right? I debate religious people on a regular fucking basis for a hobby. I'm a hardcore staunch atheist, and I have people in my life that believe in that shit, and they're still in my life regardless of my opinions, because it's okay to disagree, as long as the disagreement is held under some degree of healthy discrepancy. So let's go into this now. Just a quick note that I did speed his video up a little bit so that we can address the points a little faster. So he's not actually talking this fast in his video. I just put it up to 1.5 times speed so we can not make this video an hour fucking long or more. So let's go.
Alright, so first things first. By my expert analysis, along with my team of fellow Tekken scientists and engineers, we have figured out that there are three types of dishonesty in Tekken. Tekken, by default, is honest. The default state of Tekken is honesty. But then as you introduce more moves, more mechanics, more elements, it becomes more and more dishonest, right? More and more of these elements. And the more of these elements you have, the more dishonest your character becomes, right? That's my thesis, okay? So, what are the three types? Type 1, hard-hitting mix-ups, okay? I'll go into each of them later on, but you can already see where I'm going with this. Type 2, knowledge checks, okay? Type 3, type 3, panic buttons, right? These are the three types. You might be thinking, oh, chat, I could think of these other types. No, you're wrong. Whatever thing you're thinking about dishonesty is in here somewhere.
No, I disagree with that, actually. So the knowledge checks thing, you can argue that that's not even a dishonesty factor in this game, because knowledge checks are just you don't understand the character well enough. And I think he covers this later in the video, but that's partly why I'm confused about number 2 here. Hard-hitting mix-ups, sure, I can understand why that's dishonest. Panic buttons, absolutely, that may be one of the most dishonest things in the game, because not every character has panic buttons. Some characters have insanely strong panic buttons. That's definitely a factor in terms of dishonesty, just because it's not a universal thing. So if the mechanic isn't available to the entire cast in a wide variety, or at least a similar variety from cast member to cast member, then if you're playing a character that has some amazing panic buttons, yeah, you're probably playing a dishonest character compared to the guy who's playing a character that doesn't have those panic buttons. But instead of knowledge checks, because it's really just a matter of labbing the character, there are things in characters that I don't understand, but that's not the character's problem. It's not because the character's dishonest, it's because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing against that character. It's not the character's fault. So I think that one, even though he covers this later on in his video, right, that it is just a knowledge part on your part, a lack of skill on your part because you haven't labbed the character enough. Which, that's again why I'm confused as to why that's even on the list. What I would put in this list in place of knowledge checks is massively oppressive frames. Characters that can just lock you fucking down and never really give you your turn. Really good characters, or really good examples of this would be Dragunov. Dragunov is very oppressive in terms of his frames. He's constantly in plus frames. Back 1 plus 2, down back 3 plus 4, while running 2. His heat smash. Moves that you can really spam to continue your momentum and really keep your turn up, even against players that aren't against the wall right now. Like Kazuya is insanely oppressive against the wall, but in the neutral, he's not very oppressive. His plus frames are great, but they are not as oppressive as someone like Dragunov, who just continues his momentum over and over again. Quarter circle forward 4, another crazy strong move with Dragunov. You have another character like Yoshimitsu that has a different type of oppression. That oppression involves your opponent just never wanting to press buttons because Yoshimitsu has moves that make it so if your opponent's pressing buttons, they're fucked. Like Flash and Spin. Spin can make them whip their shit into an immediate launch, and Flash is a launcher, and it's 6 frames and interrupts them. So you have to play a slightly different game against Yoshimitsu. And you're not really allowed to run your offense as heavily against Yoshimitsu because he has those moves in his repertoire. That's a different form of oppression. So I would, instead of putting knowledge checks as part of what a dishonest character is, I would put oppressive frames and just oppression in the neutral in general as the second option there, because that's far more dishonest to me than simply not being educated on the character. Once you've educated yourself with Dragunov and Yoshimitsu, you're great, you know the matchup, but you still are oppressed by their constant plus frames or the moves that they have that exist that scare you into not wanting to press buttons. And there's also other characters that have oppressive frames. Fang is one of them. You could say Shaheen is quite an oppressive character with his while running 2 and his back 3. Very strong mids that keep your opponent in check and keep Shaheen's advantage. Oppressive frames and moves that really help build momentum with really solid plus frames and not a lot of pushback. Those characters should be added to this list as well, but that's just my opinion. Let's see what else he has to say.
But this is my central thesis, right? These are the things that make a character dishonest in Tekken. Let's go. Number 1, mix-ups. Right, so let's get this out of the way. Mix-ups are a necessary evil, okay? You cannot have a fighting game where everything that you have to defend against is reactable. You need guessing, right? You need guessing. Anyone who played For Honor in the first couple of months of that game knows what happens when you have a fully reactable defense. It becomes a staring contest, where the safest thing you can do is like not attack, and it's really boring. And given that Tekken 8 is all about aggression, it's even more so that they need to make it so that guessing is advantageous, right? So mix-ups are a necessary evil, right?
I agree.
And to some extent, we all accept the need for mix-ups. No one really gets upset about the quick lows, right? The quick little like, stature kicks, or like a generic downfall. No one's really got issues with that. It's the mix-ups where, hey, if you eat 5 of this low, you lose the round, right? Just 5. You lose the round, right? That's the kind of low we're talking about. So typically, hell sweeps or hell sweep adjacent type moves are the thing we're talking about. But it can also be high damaging unblockable highs, right? That's also another way. Or unblockables of various kinds where you just have to guess between 2 options. It's even more cheap if it's a 3-way mix-up, which there are some of. But essentially, if the cost of guessing wrong on the mix-up is sufficiently high, the higher the cost of guessing wrong on the mix-up, the worse it feels to be put in that situation in the first place. Like, before I've even made the guess, I tend to feel very angry that you've put me in this situation, right? That's just natural. But, as with point 1, mix-ups are a necessary evil. In Street Fighter, for example, the fundamental mix-up is strike-throw, right? But in Tekken, it's mid-low. Or anything that forces you to crouch, right? So, yeah, so that should be clear to us, right? Now, this is the part where I'm really about to say some shit, and I would have pissed off people a lot, okay? Especially you Kazuya players. Mix-ups in this game are very often unavoidable, right?
So now he's going to go into Kazuya players, and he's going to talk about the mix-ups here, and that's fine. Kazuya has the best mix-ups in the game, in my opinion. If you're going to bring Kazuya's name up and then say that number 3 is unpreventable, the denial must stop. What about Kazuya's mix-ups are unpreventable?
The unavoidable nature of mix-ups is what makes them very frustrating. If you earned the mix-up, or I perceive you to have earned the mix-up, it's easy to swallow emotionally. And so what tends to happen with a lot of mix-up characters, or players who play mix-up characters, is they tell you, the person who's concerned about the mix-up, oh, it's fake, right? We've all heard the bullshit Kazuya, oh yeah, just sidewalk left. Oh, sidewalk left block eliminates the entire mix-up. Listen to me when I say this, yeah? Listen to me when if you're a new Tekken player, I say from the bottom of my heart, or nothing but love. If you ever hear a Mishima player tell you, look, the mix-up's not real. It all exists in your imagination, bro. It's not real, just sidewalk left. Respectfully, don't slap them, although I would understand your desire to slap them. Just stop listening to them. Just walk away, right? Because I could go into great detail explaining why that's horseshit. But there's actually another video. I'm gonna leave a link in the description. I've forgotten the YouTuber's name, but he made a video actually referring to my first video. It's expert, it's a Jin player, and he goes into, with forensic detail, why these Kazuya players telling you just sidewalk left, bro, are huffing copious amount of copium. It's the most horseshit thing, right? But even if you don't believe me, who is a scrub, even if you don't believe him, who is a long-term Mishima player, use your own fucking eyes, right? I want you to stop and think logically about this.
First of all, let me just say one thing. Jin players are the antithesis of Kazuya players. We don't really typically get along in the fighting sense. Like, I don't have a problem with any specific Jin players, but I'm not going to take a Jin player's opinion about Kazuya and say that that's the God's truth, right? That's horseshit. Just like he shouldn't take my opinion about Jin and say that that's the God's truth. I think Jin is a bullshit, ridiculously overpowered, zero weakness having character in this game right now. And he's topped a lot of events in top 8s with CBM and other players that play Jin. Ryef is really fucking great with Jin as well. They're all putting in massive work in the character, and he's dominating right now. I mean, he's not as dominating as Dragunov, but he's up there. But in Tekken 8, Jin is very easy to use, and he has no weaknesses. And Kazuya is still his regular old self, extremely fucking difficult to use. The hardest character in the game to pilot. That's not really up for debate. I mean, I don't care if I'm sounding biased here right now. Even if you don't like Kazuya, even if you think he's a cheap piece of shit, that's fine, you're allowed to feel that way. But you must at least admit that he takes a lot of fucking work to pilot. A lot more than every other character in the cast. The 4 characters I consider the most difficult to pilot in this game are Kazuya, Devil Jin, Brian, and Steve. And I've said that since the beginning of this fucking game's release, and I will never stop saying it until more characters like that on that level come out in the game. Like Heihachi is going to be added to that list, probably. If he's really, if he's just his regular old Heihachi self, he'll be one of the 5 hardest characters in the game to pilot. Can't fucking wait for Heihachi to come out. So, already, in that sense, you have those characters that are very difficult to pilot. There's a sense of honesty there already, isn't there? I mean, just because you have to do with like a character like his main Leo, to do what you can do with Leo, it takes you 10 times the amount of time to learn how to do that same concept with Kazuya. With Leo, down forward 2 into combo. Sidestep, whip punish, down forward 2 into combo. Leo has one of the best down forward 2s in the game. You're never gonna whip that shit because that range is insane. And it tracks pretty well. So, down forward 2 Leos after a sidestep whip punish into big combo, into wall damage, into crazy Oki. Kazuya, sidestep, electric whip punish into combo wall Oki. Like, to do that takes months of work to practice and practice and practice and then apply it in an actual match at high level, high blue, gold rank level play. For Leo, you don't need to fucking do any of that stuff. So there's already a time factor that you need to put in work for one character that you don't require with another character. To me, that elevates the level of honesty. I mean, Leo players, you can sidestep down forward 2 whip punish someone after 1 week's worth of practice. You can't do that with electric with Kazuya after 1 week's worth of practice in a real match in any given scenario every time you sidestep whip punish, especially after a hard read into the sidestep and then you require the execution for the launch punish. It's a completely different ballgame than playing a simple character like Leo. So I'm not saying that Leo is dishonest and cheap. I mean, you can say that if you want about Leo. I don't necessarily have an opinion one way or the other in terms of Leo. I think that Leo's got some pretty stupid, like down forward 2+3 is a bullshit move in my opinion. But besides that, I don't know. Leo seems pretty honest of a character to me, in my opinion, from what I've seen. I don't really know the Leo matchup very well, but that's my problem. And I've said this on stream, and I've said this in past videos. I don't really know how to deal with Leo's shit when they're really, really good players and they got me against the wall and like their timing is solid. I'm kind of fucked. But I don't think that's Leo's fault. I think that's my fault for not understanding how the character works well enough. And I'm Tekken Emperor with Kazuya. I'm pushing Tekken God right now. I really should know the fucking matchup for Leo, but I just don't yet. I know it to a degree. It's not Leo's fault that I suck at the matchup. I don't consider Leo a dishonest character. There's not really... I mean, I guess the Heat Smash and down forward 2+3, those two are bullshit. So he's dishonest for those moves in that sense, because the Heat Smash is a little much. I mean, it wall splats for full combo after. No Heat Smash should do that. No fucking Heat Smash should wall splat for a full combo. That's ridiculous. Wall break, fine. Wall floor break, fine as well, because the scaling is applied after that. But fucking wall splat after a full Heat Smash into full wall combo, into wall pressure Oki after that? Nah, fuck that. No fucking Heat Smash should do that. Fangs does it, Leo's does it, Jin's fucking does it. There's a couple other characters that have shit like that does the same shit. It should not exist, but Heat Smashes like that exist. So, okay, Leo's dishonest for having a Heat Smash that wall splats. But other characters have that same exact thing, so it's not just a Leo thing. It's not just something I'm picking on that character for.
Discount my opinion. I'm not a Mishima player, I don't play missions, okay? But if you just go online and look at high-ranked games between a high-ranking Kazuya player and, say, JDCR or Fang, JDCR or Ni or John Ding or any of the high-ranking players, and you watch them play, you will see them, these gods of this game, getting hit by the mix-up that these Kazuya players tell you don't exist. It's the biggest gaslighting operation I've ever seen in my life. And you're like, how are they getting hit then? Oh no, bro, trust me, bro. Yes, I won't let, bro. Yes, I won't let, bro.
Alright, so any Kazuya players saying that stupid shit are just flat out wrong. There is a real mix-up there. It definitely exists. Sidewalk left into block will beat most of his options out of that mix-up. That's just a fact. Kazuya does have an option select to beat the classic mix-up of Hell Sweep or 4-4-3 or now Devil Fist. He has other moves out of like the Wave Dash 50-50 that he's talking about right now. Wave Dash 50-50 into those moves. He has other moves that can catch you for sidewalking him left. Devil Fist will catch you if you don't time the sidewalk correctly. Electric will catch you from a Wave Dash if you don't time the sidewalk correctly, but that's a very hard thing to apply in the neutral, or just at any point. Wave Dash multiple times into an Electric, that's difficult. Not many players have the execution to do that, but if you are able to pull that off, like 3 or 4 Wave Dashes into a solid Electric to catch people from stepping you, I mean, it tracks pretty well, but at that point, good for the fucking Kazuya player. That's a very difficult thing to pull off. The other thing is extremely difficult as well that catches sidewalk left, is Wave Dash into While Standing 2. But While Standing 2 is launch punishable, so if you sidewalk left into block, you beat 4-4-3, you beat Hell Sweep, you beat Devil Fist, and you beat While Standing 2. Electric is very fast, so it will catch you and will probably clip you, but if you don't believe me, let's actually go into this in the game. Right on. So I got Kazuya on the left side set up to do a bunch of his mix-ups now, and let's see what he's got. Alright, so I'm going to Wave Dash, and I'm going to do 4-4-3, okay? And now he's Wave Dashing again, 4-4-3. Let's see what else he can do. So I'm all I'm doing is sidewalking him left. Like, watch this. I'll just leisurely sidewalk left. Okay, that clipped me because I'm leisurely sidewalking left. Like I said, Devil Fist can clip you. But again, sidewalk left, if you time it right, is gonna fucking make the move whip. Same with the Hell Sweep. Now, if you just leisurely sidewalk, then obviously Devil Fist is going to catch you, because it has a little bit of tracking, especially if they realign with multiple Wave Dashes. That's the design of the character. But, okay, so there you go. It does clip you if you don't time the sidestep correctly. But you do have to time the sidewalk correctly for the majority of mix-ups in the game anyways, right? So, a timing. If the opponent is mixing up their timing, what is there to get angry about? Now, at this point, we're just playing Tekken. Right? I mean, there's more to mix-ups than just mid or low. It's also timing. If you play at a high level, like Tekken King, Tekken Emperor, Tekken God, higher than that, you're playing with some high-level players that are probably mixing up their timing a lot more than they're mixing up their mids and their lows together, right? So, where's the complaint in that regard? If I'm fighting a Leo player, and the Leo is, you know, mixing up their hell sweep and their down forward 2 a decent amount, and I'm just getting hit by that shit all the time because their timing is solid, that's not a mix-up I can get mad about. They're playing Tekken. That's part of the fucking game. It's part of the experience to be able to mix up the opponent with mids and lows, but also with your timing. Delay your hell sweep, do it a little bit earlier, same with your electrics, same with your 4-4-2s, but as you see, you know, sidewalk left does get rid of a lot of Kazuya's options. If you time the sidewalk left perfectly, it'll beat everything. If you time it incorrectly, then the Devil Fist will hit you. So giving Kazuya the Devil Fist is a very solid idea for the devs in this game, but it also pissed off a lot of people because now Kazuya has a little bit more neutral control that he just never did before in past Tekken games. And I can see people getting upset about that. But, like I'm saying here, sidewalk left is killing all of his main options. Hell Sweep, 4-4-3, and Devil Fist are all losing to sidewalk left, as you're seeing on screen right now. The tricky part is when you start adding the other options in. Then Kazuya's mix-up gets a little more dangerous, and you have to figure out how to apply the appropriate defeater for his mix-up. So, I just added While Standing 2 and Electric after wave dashes into the pool of moves that he's got. I've got 5 moves selected as part of his mix-up game, because these are the 5 moves you're pretty much always going to see Kazuya players do at pretty much every level, right? I mean, 4-4-3 and Hell Sweep, you'll see that from yellow ranks to blue ranks, and then high blues and gold ranks will be doing electrics and While Standing 2s out of wave dash pressure, because that's the alternative to the option select that he mentioned earlier, Chad mentioned earlier in the video, the option select. There isn't an option select for Kazuya, but you can kind of do there is a pseudo option select kind of available. So if I wanted to, I can just sidewalk left. Now, I didn't block in time, but I can sidewalk left into block, and it really should just beat out every option. I ducked there by accident. And I ducked again because I'm not trying to duck, I'm trying to sidestep. But as you're seeing here, sidewalk left into block is beating out pretty much every option he's done. Right? Now, he's -3, of course, after the 4-4-3, but, you know, like, this is... But I'm not getting hit by anything yet. All the electric clip me. See, that's what I said. Electric is a great fucking thing to have in your repertoire, because it makes it so that you're able to... You're doing the correct, applying the correct counterplay here, because what's happening is you're basically, you're option selecting them. If what you see them doing is just constantly sidewalk left into constant block, doesn't matter what they do, sidewalk left as soon as they see you do that wave dash pressure. They sidewalk left into block. That pretty much beats everything, because the sidewalk the ending pieces of your side, or the ending steps of your sidewalk will beat out your hell sweep, or the opponent's hell sweep, like what I'm doing right now. And the other options will be beaten by the blocking scenario. So, you know, like, but except for electric. So it's important that he has his electric because it helps cover your option select that defeats your mix-up. That's Kazuya's thing. He needs his electric for that. It's his best move. He should be entitled to it. But if you misinput the electric and you get a win Godfist instead, the tracking goes out the fucking window. There is almost no tracking to win Godfist. There's very good tracking to both sides with electric. So another reason why the electric is way fucking better than the win Godfist and just one of the best moves in the game. But in order to option select their option select, you have to do a just frame input out of wave dashes to realign with the sidewalking opponent. Like, so your counterplay to their counterplay is 10 times fucking harder than their counterplay. So I don't understand the dishonesty concept here. Kazuya has to work his fucking ass off to ensure that he gets damage, retains his turn, and is able to apply his mix-up effectively. On top of that, in order to initiate Kazuya's mix-up, you require a knockdown. You can't just do this shit in their face, you know, and then expect them to just fucking stand there, otherwise they're gonna interrupt you, right? So wave dashing into a fucking mix-up, it can only really be applied after a knockdown, right? And so this is a fantastic move to do that kind of for the knockdown stuff, because you're able to immediately get up there and start initiating your vortex. So you have options after the 1-1-2. Great move to do, and you can hit confirm this, so that's fantastic. But keep in mind, Kazuya has problems. His jab is terrible, right? One of the worst jabs in the game with one of the worst horizontally hitting hitboxes, almost has no vertical hitbox and zero tracking to both sides, and hits at range 1.9. So it's got the 5th worst range of any jab in the game. It's a terrible jab. They buffed it a little bit by, you know, the second jab here will no longer whiff anymore. After you connect with the first one, the opponent kind of magnetizes themselves into you now, and the second hit is all but pretty much guaranteed. Most of the time. I have still whiffed the second jab in this little string before since the patch came out, but it's only happened to me once, and I think it was an anomaly. It's probably not going to happen again for a while, but it's not perfect. But it's a hell of a lot better than it was. We're pretty much guaranteed this every time you connect with the initial jab. So this 10-frame punish is the bane of a lot of people's existences, and I get it. It's a very difficult thing to deal with, and it immediately initializes the vortex. Like, as soon as he's on the ground, I can start applying pressure and, you know, doing my shit. But it doesn't change the fact that the counterplay for Kazuya's mix-up is very much exactly as he was saying. Just sidewalk left, bro. Sidewalk left into block. I mean, I'm demonstrating in real time that the mix-up is defeated by that counterplay that I suggested he try in the comment of his previous video that I mentioned earlier. I mean, you're seeing it on screen, I'm showing it in real time. If you have a solid enough understanding of your opponent's timing, you can option select their Weibo pressure and their 50-50 all day. You just have to get that understanding of their timing. And if their timing is too good that you can't option select their mix-up, well, fucking guess what? I guess they just outplayed you in Tekken. Because that's kind of the character of Kazuya. He requires mind games, he requires timing mix-ups, he requires top-level execution, and all those things need to be applied at once in order for Kazuya to be piloted effectively at high level of play. And once you've gotten all those things applied at once, it becomes difficult to deal with Kazuya's mix-ups because that's the nature of the character. Does that make him dishonest? I don't know. If he's not an honest character, what the fuck is an honest character in this game? I have no problem saying that No character in this game is honest, including Kazuya, because that's just, you know, he's got his 50-50 is too strong. Okay, fine, his 50-50 is too strong, but you know what else is? You know what else he's got? Fucking nothing. He's got no poking, he's got a shit neutral game, he's got great wall game. I mean, if you do the staple that I do, he does have some decent wall carry. This is my favorite combo with him. And that's some decent wall carry, and it's decent damage too, right? Once you're at the wall with Kazuya, he becomes a problem. His oppression with his frames at the wall, thanks to this string, are just fucking insane. On top of that, he's got this. Not that, but the fucking Petricide Fist at the wall is so crazy good because it just adds plus frames into, you know, you can do the electric. So against the wall, Kazuya is very, very good. But in the neutral, he requires a knockdown with one of the shittiest jabs in the game, which means the odds of you actually getting a knockdown with your jab, unless the opponent does something stupid and puts themselves in -10, they're not the best. You have to pretty much always sidestep into jab punish. You know, once you've done that, you're able to initiate the vortex, but then your opponent can still sidewalk you left, especially if you play on player one side. If you flash punch combo into a wave dash 50-50 mix-up, and your opponent plays on player one side, they can tech roll into immediate sidewalk left and avoid every single move out of Kazuya's mix-up that I just showed you is avoidable with sidewalk left. Or sidewalk left into block if you get a decent reading of your opponent's timing. So there is an option select available. If you play on player two side like I do, then you're not as fortunate. You don't get that option select available to you. If I get knocked down, I can't sidewalk left from a knockdown, because I'm playing on player two side. I can sidewalk right after a knockdown, you know? Like if he knocks me down right now, don't do that. Do anything else. Like I can sidewalk right, but I'm not going to dodge any of his shit.
Sidewalk left block. Sidestep left block, and then there's the whole mix-up. Oh, really? The whole mix-up? Yeah, the whole mix-up, bro. Just sidewalk left. Just sidewalk left, bro. Just sidewalk left, bro. You won't get hit by it. If you get hit by it, it's because you want sidewalk left, bro. Just sidewalk left, bro. Just sidewalk left. Trust me, just sidewalk left. It's horseshit, right? And in fact, let me further expand it. Let me not pick on Kazuya players too much, right? I play Leo. Okay? One of Leo's weaknesses is that Leo is linear. That's one of like the weaknesses of Leo. I could tell you, if someone came to me and was like, hey man, I'm really struggling with the Leo matchup. This motherfucker feels cheap as fuck. I would never look this fellow human in the eye, this fellow child of Christ, and tell them, bro, just sidewalk left.
First of all, child of Christ, God doesn't exist, bro, so count me out of that one. But, you know, if you're fucking all about that stuff, then power to you, but don't include me in that bullshit. But on top of that, Leo's counterplay is not sidewalk left. That's why you would never tell someone who's new at Tekken that Leo, sidewalk Leo left and you beat their mix-ups. Leo's counterplay is sidestep right. Like you said, Leo is a fairly linear character. The hell sweep isn't very linear. Leo has some decent homing moves, and on top of that, down forward 2 tracks to sidestep left. So as far as I know, it does track to sidestep left, but it doesn't track very well to sidestep right. But here, let's test that just in case. Yeah, sidestep left into block. Yeah, it tracks pretty well to sidestep left, obviously. Sidestep right, though, like I said, Leo's counterplay is sidestep right. You wouldn't necessarily want to sidewalk this character right, because the strings that Leo has do realign a lot of the time, so sidestep right is your friend against Leo. Another thing about Leo that I really gotta point out that I think is actually pretty fucking bullshit, especially since he's knocking Kazuya so much and talking about his hell sweep and how, you know, that's such a fucking problem because he's got some ridiculous mix-ups that involve his hell sweep. At least my hell sweep is pretty linear to one side. It only tracks to one side, right? What about Leo's? Huh. Wow. What if I backdash away and sidewalk this shit? Oh, that still realigns. Okay. So the second hit realigns no matter where you're stepping, and the first hit is pretty much homing. Unless you're fucking Lily, or Alisa, or Zafina. And even then, it's probably still homing with those characters, I bet. Because it's a crazy good health sweep. That's another reason why I wouldn't say, you know, Sidewalk left beats Leo's mix-up. No, because Sidewalking left doesn't do shit against Leo, Sidewalking right doesn't do shit, as I just demonstrated. Leo's proper counterplay is to stay away from Leo and then sidestep right when you're in their face. That's how you counterplay Leo. So no wonder you're not going to tell them to Sidewalk left. There's different counterplay for every character in the game. Kazuya's counterplay is generally sidewalk left into block, as I demonstrated in real time, in practice mode. Don't fucking take my word for it. Just rewind the fucking footage and see exactly what happened.
The health sweep, by the way, is no longer tracking, right? It used to be in 7, or most tracking. It's no longer tracking. But
So he just said Leo's health sweep is no longer tracking, and I just debunked that. It tracks both sides quite heavily, and the second hit realigns completely with a sidewalking opponent. So I don't know where you're getting it doesn't track anymore. I know Kazuya's sidestep is pretty average, but I couldn't sidestep it at all, and I just attempted it multiple times.
you know that even moves that don't have tracking will catch you if you A, delay your timing, even accidentally, right? B, things have weird jank hitboxes, even at the best of times. And C, and this is the most important thing, Leo has other options that will catch you sidestepping or sidewalking. So it's like, you can't just tell someone who's struggling with the matchup or with the mix-up, bro, yeah, this movement option eliminates it. So my advice to you, if you're new to Tekken or intermediate trying to get good and you're trying to pass through the tons of advice that exists online, trying to get the good stuff, the bad stuff, if you're struggling with a character and the player of the character tries to dismiss your concern about a mix-up by saying, yo, just blank, sidewalk left, sidestep crouch, side whatever, stop listening to them.
No, I agree with this point. There is no option select for the vast majority of the cast. Leo is definitely included on that list. There is no option select that beats out Leo's pressure or Leo's tools. Like I said, the best thing you can do is stay a reasonable distance away from Leo, like around range 3, and then once Leo is able to close the gap and get it right in your face, sidestep right will beat like 70% of Leo's options, but Leo still has options to beat out your sidestep right and your backdashes. So, I don't know, maybe that's because if every character in the game had an option select to deal with their entire move list or their mix-ups or as a significant portion of their counterplay, then those characters would be garbage. They'd be bottom tier. Option selects are not what you want to have in a fighting game. Option selects are great when, for specific scenarios, for like 4 out of 5 moves in a stance or something. But for the most part, you don't want your characters to have option selects available to them to defeat the counterplay. And for those of you who don't know, I've said this many times in my videos, the term option select. It means a tactic that you're able to do that will conceivably or should theoretically defeat every option that they try to throw at you. Like you saw earlier, my option select for Kazuya for the basic 50-50 was sidewalk left, right? Basic 50-50 with Kazuya is Hell Sweep, forward 4-3, Devil Fist. Those 3 moves are what Kazuya players are going to generally be mixing you up with. If they, if you're worried about Kazuya and you're not sure about their timing and they're playing Kazuya, just try sidewalking this shit left, because most of the time they're going to go for 4-4-3 or Hell Sweep. And both of those moves are beaten out with a very casual, not very appropriately timed sidewalk left. You can just do it at your own leisure and Kazuya's shit will whiff. It's not until he starts adding in the other shit, once he realizes, oh, my opponent is sidewalking left, I should probably start incorporating some moves that track better. How about Devil Fist? Devil Fist tracks a little bit better than the other 2 moves I was just using, so let me put that in as the mid. Now he has to appropriately time his sidewalk left. Oh, he's timing his sidewalk left better. I better mix up my timing now. Oh, he's understanding that my timing is getting mixed up as well, so now he's doing a big sidestep left into block. This is Tekken. That's how you fucking counterplay each other. It's called mind games and chess in real time. So there's nothing dishonest about that. That's just how you play the fucking game. I know mix-ups can feel cheap, but at the end of the day, there are options to defeat the mix-ups that don't really involve a lot of thinking. You know, you can just sidewalk left and it will beat most of their options. If you get clipped by the electric, well, I guess they realized that you were going to sidewalk left and they decided, fuck that, electric will realign and kill them. Same with while standing 2 from a wave dash. If they're just sidewalking you left, while standing 2 will eat them for fucking breakfast because it's a homing move. That's what that move exists for. But if you sidewalk left into block because you think that the while standing 2 is coming out, because you've been sidewalking this entire time, you're like, oh, he's mixing it up a bit, he's throwing in some devil fists. I feel like maybe he's going to start throwing some homing moves in because my sidewalks are really putting in a lot of work right now. Boom. You read the while standing 2, and he's at -18. You blocked it, you kill him for a launch. Like, there is counterplay available to his options available in his mix-up. Right? And that's kind of how the game is supposed to work. That's honest Tekken.
Gaslight's gonna talk to you about this. I see why people gaslight you. But, like, trust me. The mix-ups are real. And again, to go all the way back to what I said just a second ago, don't take my word for it. Go watch the best players in the world play against Kazuya. Go watch the best players in the world play against Leo, my character, who, by the way, is also cheap. Cheap as fuck, okay? No character, in my opinion, with hard-hitting mix-ups, can say that they're playing honest. My main, Leo, has hell sweeps, has a dirty hell sweep that comes out of that forward 4K and K mix-up. It's not honest, right? That doesn't mean that you can't be skillful and play the character, right? I mean, I'm not skillful. But there are other people who play Leo, and they're skillful, right? You can be very skillful and play the character. You can be very skillful and play Kazuya.
So I just have to say that respond to the whole cheap factor. I can't really, in good faith, call Leo a cheap character. Yes, the heat smash is a problem. That shit, the wall splatting factor in the heat smash is something I think needs to go. And down forward 2+3 being -12 is fucking ridiculous. That move is a counter hit, low, high crushing launcher that actually has a little bit of tracking to Leo's good side. So, because if you sidestep that move left, you can still get clipped by it if you don't time the sidestep perfectly. So, I don't know. I think that down forward 2+3 and the heat smash are kind of cheap, but what is really an unpreventable mix-up? What's an actual cheap mix-up? Something that you literally must guess with. There is no counterplay except for guessing. I can show you an example of that with somebody real quick, but first of all, with Kazuya, the mix-up being cheap, I can see how people could perceive it that way, but the fact that you can block things and sidewalk them makes it so there are multiple options to deal with the mix-up. There's multiple counterplay options available to you. If there's only one option available to you, like block and guess, that's just one option, then I would say the mix-up is unpreventable. So a mix-up that's actually quite ridiculous to try to deal with is Lars's Den 3, Dynamic Entry 3, into the follow-ups. Either, Dynamic Entry 1, Silent Entry 1 or Silent Entry 2. You also have the hop kick. You also have the homing move that he's got. So there are multiple options that he has from that stance. And because he's at +5 after Dynamic Entry 3, there's nothing I can do. I can't sidestep, as you see. I can't sidewalk. All the options cover those bases. So sidewalking isn't going to work. Sidestepping certainly doesn't work either. So what do I do here? I'm forced to just block. Especially if he delays the Dynamic Entry or the Silent Entry 1, which you're able to do. At that point, even fuzzy guarding isn't going to work. So what you can do here is you can fuzzy guard the Silent Entry 2, and then immediately stand up real quick, get right back in a blocking position, and then block the Silent Entry 1, but then he's safe, and you're at pushback, and it basically resets the neutral. So if you time the sidewalk really fucking well, you can actually sidewalk the Silent Entry 2 here. But it's a very strict timing. And if he tries to do Silent Entry 1 there, then I die, right? And it's a heat engager, that move as well, so it's a launcher too. So really all you want to do at this point is hold back. Because you don't know what he's going to do. I mean, you have an option to beat Silent Entry 2 with Sidewalk left, but it can still clip you even if you sidewalk pretty perfectly, semi-perfectly. You still get clipped by Silent Entry 2. Silent Entry 1 will kill you if he doesn't delay it at all. And then he has other options out of there too that completely mitigate all your counterplay available to that entire setup. Once you're in this scenario and you're at -5 and he's going into Silent Entry, the best thing you could do there is block and take a guess, because +5 is just, it's too many frames for you to try to apply any type of option select. Sidewalking left is not an option select. He has a homing move there, and Silent Entry 2 can still clip you. And Silent Entry 1 is going to kill you if you try to sidewalk left anyways. So, ridiculous setup where the mix-up is guaranteed. You just basically have to guess. That's really the only option available to you that's any way viable. So that would be an unpreventable mix-up. Kazuya's and Leo's mix-ups, in my opinion, are not unpreventable. You can get out of those scenarios. Leo just backdash, or, try to Korean backdash your way out of there pretty quick. If you're not able to do that, a sidestep right into block will beat most of their options. If they hell sweep you, well, you're kind of fucked because it tracks both sides, but, at least if you try to backdash away, the hell sweep will only clip you, and the second hit is punishable. So you can just backdash, get clipped by the hell sweep, block the second hit, and deal with Leo afterwards. So there are options available to deal with Leo's mix-ups. With that mix-up with Lars's Den 3, Dynamic Entry 3, being at +5 on block, it puts you in a scenario where all you can do is guess. So there are mix-ups in the game that are cheaper than others. But for the most part, there exists counterplay that deals with a large chunk of the moves from a character that will put you in a scenario where you're forced to then take the mix-up. You don't always have to guess. I would only put the unpreventable label on mix-ups where you can only really guess and block, like what I just showed you.
Spacing immaculately. Gorgeous keep out, right? Ducking everything that is duckable. Being really smart on offensive movement, and I've just gone, fuck it. Forward 4, hell sweep. Forward 4, hell sweep. Forward 4, hell sweep. Forward 4, he crouches because he doesn't want to get hell sweep, and I hit him with the mid. Duck, duck, goose, and he loses. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I've not done that. I'm also not going to sit here and pretend that hasn't been happened to me. We've all been here. You get hell sweep by the Kazuya. You get up, you get hell sweep again. So you think, okay, I'm going to stay down. He fucking flips you over. You get up, he hell sweeps you again. And you're like, fuck, I gotta crash. You eat the mid. It's happened to all of us, right? And you lost that round. Did you lose that round because you're bad at Tekken? Did you lose that round because you're dumb, because your movement? Is it because you just didn't sidewalk left, bro? Is it because you just didn't sidewalk left, bro? As if like these moves come out at immediate timing. Like again, perhaps it's my fault for assuming that the people I'm talking to and about weren't like mentally retarded. Maybe that's the issue, right? Because like if you know the timing at which that person is going to do the move, then yes, sidewalk left or sidestep crouch will protect you. But if the person you're dealing with has an IQ above 12, then they can change their timing and they can use options to catch your walking. Because before they approach you, they will notice, hey, this guy's sidewalking left. Sidestepping, blocking. How about I do the option that stops you from doing that? It beggars belief. I'm going around in circles, yeah. But the point is, mix-ups are one of the ways a character can be dishonest. And in my view, if your character has access to a high-power mix-up, I feel, again, this is the part where it gets slightly subjective, I feel that your ability to call your character honest immediately gets heavily diminished, right? Doesn't make you a bad person playing them, doesn't mean you have no skill to play them. It just means that your ability to say that, oh yeah, all of my wins are just because of my skill and nothing else is kind of diminished immediately.
I agree with this. I don't think that every win that I've ever gotten with Kazuya was because I was the better player. Obviously, I've out-cheesed my opponent before because they may have been the one person on the planet that didn't know the Kazuya matchup like the backs of their dicks, right? How the fuck am I supposed to know that they're the one person that doesn't know the matchup, right? So I take full advantage of that in that scenario because for me, a guy who plays Kazuya, I never run into an opponent that doesn't know the matchup, especially at gold ranks, right? I'm playing gold rank players all the fucking time. And they all understand how to beat Kazuya. Here's the thing. Mix-ups can be dishonest. But I don't think that Kazuya's mix-up is something that you can consider dishonest. When that's the only thing he really excels at until you get to the wall. I mean, he has no neutral game. He doesn't really have a good way to get in on opponents. He has no good solid pokes. He's a very linear character. Like I said, Sidewalk left beats a large portion of his move list, not just his his mix-up options, but pretty much everything he does, besides his homing moves and electric, you can't really, you can sidestep and sidewalk those moves all day. Kazuya's a very linear character, just like what he said about Leo. So what does Kazuya have? He has no panic tools either. He has no ways to just have natural evasion in his moves in such a way that make it so you don't have to think, and you can just throw this random move out, and if it hits, awesome. If it doesn't, that's okay too. Like Jin's got moves like that down too. If it hits, awesome. If it doesn't, or if it gets blocked, big fucking deal. Most characters can't even launch it. He's also got forward 4, ridiculous move that he can just do at any time with no consequence. Zero consequence to throwing out forward 4 all fucking day. You can do that for the entire round, and you're fine. It's a good option to spam forward 4, because Jin is a ridiculous character, right? His demon paw as well. He's got the best demon paw in the game. He can just do that move, and it's fine. Jin's cool. He doesn't give a fuck. Dive kick, same thing. +2 or more on block. Jin can just do those things. If Devil Jin does his dive kick, he gets launched for it. If Jin does his dive kick, he gets to continue his fucking momentum. Like, that, to me, is a dishonest character. When you have so many tools for everything, every conceivable option that your opponent could have to beat you, you have an answer to deal with that not only shuts down their counterplay, but makes it so you become the oppressor in the round that then dictates how the rest of the match goes because you play a character that has zero weakness. That's a dishonest character to me. Jin is the definition of dishonest in this game. Oppressive frames can make it so it's never your fucking turn. Ridiculous poking. And also has a ridiculous mix-up, right? Jin is a dishonest character, in my mind. Dragunov, very dishonest. Yoshimitsu, very dishonest. But we're not talking about... I don't consider Leo a dishonest character, in all things considered. I think Leo has some moves available to them that make them feel cheap sometimes, but I wouldn't say Leo is a dishonest character necessarily. I think they've got some great moves that can be annoying. Same with Kazuya. He's got a Hell Sweep, and he's got a launching mid that's safe on block with 4-4-3. And he's got Devil Fist, and he has Electric. He's got some annoying shit to deal with. But is he an honest character in the broad spectrum? Because the only thing he has at his availability is his powerful mix-up game. Everything else is subpar. And the amount of work it takes to pilot that character, the only word I can use to describe him is honest. And like he says himself, this Chad guy, he says himself that he's not a Mishima player. I highly recommend you take Kazuya online and do some fights with Kazuya. See what you think. Seriously, see what you think. See how far you get without learning how to do proper wave dashes into the mix-up, into an electric, into while standing 2, and sidestep with punishing with electrics. Try. Just go online and into blue ranks and see where you're at with that. Because, to me, it's night and fucking day. I play other characters that aren't Kazuya, and I can tell you right now that Kazuya is... I have to work my ass off with my main character that I know like the back of my dick. When I play someone like I don't know, Zafina or Raven or Reyna, I don't feel remotely like I'm trying to, like I'm sweating at all. I don't feel aggravated whatsoever. With Zafina, I can just casually kick the shit out of Kishin and Bushin level players. No problem. I don't give a fuck. I'm Zafina. Nobody knows the matchup. You know, she's got some really oppressive frames now. She has some insane punishment now. Down 3 is a ridiculous low. I can get away with so much bullshit with that character. Zafina is nowhere near as difficult as Kazuya. I get fucking Bushin Tekken King with Zafina in my fucking sleep. But with Kazuya, I work my ass off every time I'm online with that character. Just because he has a very short little amount of moves means that I have to apply them at very specific and appropriate times. And learning the application timing is far more difficult than just learning 20 extra moves on a different character's move list and learning how to apply those. It's a much harder thing to apply 5 moves perfectly than it is to shower your opponent with half your character's move list. It's far more difficult because you're giving them a lot more that they have to think about when you're throwing 50 moves at them. So their brain is scattered. And mind control, mind games in Tekken is one of the most important things in this fucking game. So if you're able to make it so your opponent has to think constantly, then you're at an advantage already. With Kazuya, your opponent doesn't really have to think all that much because there's only 5 or 6 moves in his repertoire that your opponent's really all that scared of. And a lot of them, like I demonstrated earlier, are beaten with sidewalk left or sidewalk left into block. I mean, it's not an option select that eliminates the mix-up. The mix-up is very real. Kazuya does have a solid mix-up game. I would never say he doesn't. That's his entire fucking character. But is his mix-up cheap? Does it require appropriate timing mix-ups on top of the fact that it's a low-mid mix-up? Yes. Which means there's more to it than just doing the moves. Applying them appropriately is where the skill comes in. Timing mix-ups is a high-level technique, and you require that to pilot Kazuya efficiently. That's not the sign, these are not the hallmarks of a dishonest character in my books.
That's my view. If you disagree with that, you can stop listening, because nothing else you're going to agree with. But that's like the key point, okay? I'm not talking about small mix-ups. I'm not talking about little stature kicks and little lows. I'm talking about big, hard-hitting lows. If you have them, right, your ability to call yourself honest is diminished. That's my view, okay?
So I'm skipping the knowledge check section of this video because Kazuya doesn't have any knowledge checks, really, and he admits that in the video itself. So I'm just omitting that from this response video, and I want to just talk about the panic buttons. He's already said that Kazuya has no panic buttons, and that's fine. Right on, we're on the same page about that, because besides down 1+2, you could argue that's a panic button, maybe Shikaway when he's in heat, but that's it, really. He doesn't have anything in terms of panic buttons that are actually very effective. Down 1+2 is also not that great of a panic button because it doesn't high crush immediately like a lot of moves that high crush do. So it only high crushes after the 5th frame, so you can still jab interrupted, you can still do a whole bunch of shit in terms of defeating that move when your opponent is panicking and trying to get out of jail free by mashing down 1+2. The Kazuya player, I mean, you can still kick the shit out of them for attempting that because it's not really a true panic button. It's just it's there to get you out of a tight spot, but you still require a bit of timing in order to implement it properly. So, not the greatest panic button.
Defense is the hardest aspect of this game. Don't care what anyone says. It is the hardest and one of the most important. Maybe the most important, right? It determines how long you can survive, determines how long and what chance you have to do your offense, right? Defense is really hard in this game. And it's the thing that really separates bad players from average players from good players from great players from the best. I truly think, like, defense is the stat to measure if you're tracking true defensive Tekken skill. That's my honest view. Defense is easy. I mean, offense is easy. Defense, really hard.
Do we agree here completely? Defense is by far the hardest thing in Tekken. Defense is insane. And guess who requires your defense to be at the utmost on point that day every time you play him? It's fucking Kazuya. He has no panic buttons, he's got no good pokes, his power crush is trash, he has no throw game to get him out of a fucking scenario. He is just locked in to, I need to know the entire cast, and I need to have solid fundamental movement in terms of sidestepping, backdashing, and learning exactly what to time my ducks with the highs in their strings. If you don't have that, you can't play Kazuya very well. Or you're not playing him very well. You're probably stuck in purple ranks or something with him, because you haven't learned the fundamental skill required to bring him up to gold ranks. Or in tournaments or anything. You require movement, which is one of the hardest things to learn in Tekken. So, again, you are the one saying these things, Chad. You're saying that defense is the hardest aspect of the game. We agree on that. Kazuya is the character in the game that needs the most fundamentals out of the player when defending against the opponent. Like, his defense needs to be fucking on point. You don't really need that with pretty much any other character in the game. Every other character in the game has some semblance of panic tools, or some semblance of poking, or some kind of a thing that can get them out of a hard scenario, like a decent throw game or something. or decent power crushes. Kazuya's got nothing like that. So, he needs the movement. Which means you're working harder than the other characters in the game who don't need that your correct or your decent fundamentals to get them out of a tight bind. You have moves that do that for you. So your admission is that defense is the hardest aspect of the game. Kazuya requires solid defense to be piloted at a reasonable level, and yet you consider him a dishonest character. I don't understand the correlation here. It's not making sense, because you're saying one thing and then you're irritated with the Kazuya community because maybe the Kazuya players that aren't myself have been saying some stupid shit, like the mix-up doesn't exist, or Sidewalk left beats everything in the mix-up, which it almost does. It beats almost everything, until you get into the really, really hard shit, which at that point, great for the Kazuya player. Like, if he's able to do multiple wave dashes in a while standing 2, then fucking you should be applauding the guy. The dude busted his ass learning how to do that shit, and you just ate it, and now he's dealing an 85 damage combo to you and putting you up against the wall and probably going to take the round. But what did that require? Like, you were sidewalking left to try to beat out his entire mix-up, and he did the one thing that was going to beat out your sidewalk left for sure, but it's extremely hard to do. Everything with this character is very, very difficult to do. So he's got no panic tools, he requires top-notch fundamentals, and defense is extremely hard to do in this game, but Kazuya needs the best defense out of the best players possible in order to be piloted right. His go-to move is a just frame. Electric requires months of practice to implement in a match consistently, and it's the most important move of the character. The way that you apply his pressure requires heavy execution with wave dashing into varying attacks. So if Kazuya's not an honest character, what the fuck is? Let's just, at this point, I'm cool with just saying no one in Tekken is honest. If you're gonna say Kazuya's not honest, then no one in Tekken is honest. And that's fine. We can totally agree to say that. I'm fine with saying no one in Tekken is honest. I mean, you say that you went into the science about this thing, and I know we were joking at the very beginning. It was all good, man. I'm not trying to give you a hard time or anything, but when you bring up your points and your arguments are, well, Kazuya is not honest because these guys are gaslighting you, and, you know, they'll just tell you Sidewalk left into block, beats his entire fucking etc., and, you know, they're huffing the biggest parts of copium or whatever the fuck he says. What the fuck is copium? I've never even heard that word in my life. I'm old, so translate that shit for me. You bring it up, like, watch the best players in the world play against Kazuya players. Okay, we do that, and you observe that. The reason that they're not constantly sidewalking the Kazuya player is because the Kazuya player is usually mixing up their timing. They're doing like Weiwu into dash block, into Weiwu, into block, into Weiwu, into like exaggerated wave dash, hell sweep. Like a lot of players, Keisuke does that shit all the time. He will extend the fucking crouch dash as far as it goes, and then hell sweep. Like that's a ridiculously smart tactic. To delay your timing that much. It means you understand that your opponent respects you, and now you're taking advantage of the fact that they respect you. The Kazuya player starts losing once they stop being respected. The mix-up is real, but you can't say that, just watch the top players play against Kazuya and see how they play, because that pro-level Kazuya player is not applying the mix-up in the way that you seem to take issue with. They're applying the mix-up in tandem with the timing mix-up. So, to watch pros play at that level is incorrect. They're playing a different game than what we're playing right now, or what the players that you're talking to right now are playing. Or the ones, especially the ones that are having a hard time dealing with Kazuya's mix-ups, they are playing very, very different Tekken than the ones, the Tekken that you're suggesting they go watch to observe how they fight Kazuya players. They're not going to get an accurate representation of how to fight Kazuya online when they watch pro-level play it in tournaments. No one's going to just be sidewalking Kazuya left all day, because the Kazuya player is not just going to be randomly wave dashing into their fucking random mix-up shit in their face, because both players are way better than that. So, bullshit thing to say very misleading to the audience. I don't agree with that assessment at all, but we'll continue from here.
And so, if you have moves that essentially allow you to cover multiple defensive options and allow you to sort of escape the psychological demand of like defense, such as crushing moves, like low crushing moves like a hop kick, low crushing moves like a hop kick, moves that go over lows, or moves that go under highs, or power crush moves, or moves that like sidestep you, evasive type stuff. If you have moves like that, yeah, especially if they're good, if it's like a fucking safe, high, heat engaging fucking armor moves, like that's fucking horseshit, right? And for those of you characters who don't have that, you tend to resent the characters that do, because you're using all of your brain power on defense, trying to like get the situations, duck the highs, low parry the lows, dick jabs in order to prevent you from entering mix-up stances. Like defense is really hard, and some characters have moves that can just streamline that whole process. Fucking Asuka, can kicks, let's go, we're out, we're fucking out, we're done, all right? I don't have to think, brain off, right? That's why I like playing her. Is she strong? No, but she makes the defensive part of this game a lot easier, right? A lot easier. It's also why, by the way, you can't really buff Asuka too much, because I think if you actually gave Asuka a solid offense, which is what she would need in order to be like a competitively viable character, Kazuya players have to play real fucking defense. There's no bullshit when you play Kazuya on defense. You have to be smart. It is what it is. Like, there's no horseshit. It's not even like Kazuya has like, you know, a listed type movement either. You just gotta play hard defense. There is no one helping you. Not even the common hop kick that most characters in the game have. You don't get that. You have to be knowledgeable about the frames to watch what you're dealing with. And in this game specifically, it's harder than ever to be that solid on defense, right? It's really hard. It's really fucking hard. And no one, again, I love shitting on Kazuya players as much as the next guy. We cannot talk shit about this. They have to work hard on defense. That's real. And I think this is where Kazuya players get really upset when you say that their character is dishonest, right? Because they're like, how dare you? How fucking dare you? Do you know how hard I have to work playing this game? Do you know how hard I have to work? And we all know this feeling of like, I feel like I'm working so much harder than my opponent is. I feel like I'm working so much fucking harder than they are. And you can't help but resent the character, and to some extent even the player. You're like, man, I know we're both playing this match, but I feel like one of us is having to use all our brain power and you are just fucking mashing buttons. This sucks. And I'm sure, given the oppressive power of offense in this game, and the lack of help that Kazuya players get from their defensive options, that they feel that way very often, right? I get it. I do get it, okay? A part of me is like, well, that's kind of the character you chose, but I get it, right?
I mean, we agree here on the Kazuya things that he was saying. I often feel like I'm working a lot harder than my opponent, I'm not gonna lie. But that's because I probably am. I'm sorry. But Kazuya is the only character in the game that requires a just frame attack as his go-to move for whiff punishing, for poking, for advancing on the opponent, for keeping out the opponent, and for just launching in general. And retaining some plus frames so that you can continue your momentum. But at the same time, Electric has a lot of pushback, so really all it does in the neutral is just reset the neutral. That alone is enough to say that it's okay if you feel like you're playing, you know, you're working harder than your opponent playing Kazuya. Because if they're not playing Kazuya, you know, maybe they're playing Devil Jin, in which case you're both working exceptionally hard. But if you're playing anybody else, you have a pretty easy mode launcher with down forward 2. Even Brian's fucking jet upper is a shit ton easier to do than Electric. I'm not saying Electric is hard to do, so don't mince my words here. I'm saying Electric is a fuck ton harder to apply in a real match scenario, a real high pressure scenario, than a simple down forward 2 launcher. And we can't deny that. It's just a fucking fact. We're talking literal physics right now. Doing an Electric requires a fuck ton more from the player than just inputting down forward 2 and getting a full launch, right? So yeah, we probably are working a lot harder than the vast majority of players in Tekken, because Kazuya just demands that from us. But am I mad about that? No, I'm not. I accept that I'm supposed to work a lot harder than all the other players. That's why I chose Kazuya as my main. He's a very difficult character to use, and I wanted the utmost challenge when I was first picking my main back in Tekken 1 in 1994, 1995. So I wanted to challenge myself, and Kazuya was the best character for the job. And because he's so fucking sick, he's stuck with me for 30 years now. But he's extremely hard to use. I would never change that about him. It's one of the reasons I love him so much. I'm not upset that I have to work harder than other players. I don't think that's on them at all. I chose Kazuya. But is it a fact that we are working harder than other players? Yes, it is. And I don't think there's anything wrong in saying that, as long as you acknowledge that it is your decision. You decided to choose Kazuya as your main, so you should embrace the fact that you're going to have to spend a lot of fucking time in practice mode learning how to Electric and wave dash pressure long before you were even remotely good at Tekken. Like, you're gonna have to master those tools just to start your journey on trying to get good at Tekken. That's the contract you sign when getting in bed with Kazuya. I don't think that anybody's complaining about how hard Kazuya is to play. At least I've never seen a Kazuya player bitch about that. I don't think that they're bitching about Kazuya's difficulty in the sense that Chad is thinking they are. Bitching about how hard Kazuya is to play is different than bitching about how much harder he is to play than other characters. Because sometimes that can get frustrating. When you just get your fucking ass kicked by an Asuka player, yeah, it can be infuriating because you're playing a character that's 1,000 times harder to play than Asuka. Right? Arguably the easiest character in the game versus absolutely the hardest character in the game. It's a night and day fucking difference. I mean, he just said it. You can turn your brain off with Asuka and just let shit fucking fly. Let your cans go, and you're good to go. Turn your brain off. It's all good. You know, my turning my brain off character is Lei or Reina. I don't have to think with those characters. They're just easy mode bullshit, right?
Lastly, we might disagree on a lot of things, but let us all come together and agree that Flash, in this game, Yoshimitsu's Flash, is fucking degenerate. Look, we can disagree on a lot of things, but the one thing we should all come together as children of God and agree on is that Flash is fucking degenerate.
Again, with the children of God thing, man, you really like this God guy. I've never met him, so, you know.
6 frame, like, stopping you on offense in a game where you have to play offense because defense is so fucking hard, is fucking... And he'll just do the spinning back. Fuck, it must be nice, right? But yeah, I'm not gonna get into that. The point is, the more panic buttons, get out of jail free or card options you have, the more dishonest your character tends to feel, okay? Okay, now, I've listed the 3 things that are truly dishonest in this game. Now, what is the most dishonest? Now, I feel, if I'm being honest, we now step away from my Chad-tastic scientific approach and now we have to be subjective, okay? We're gonna have to agree to disagree. Because for some people, they're gonna think like, well, I think knowledge checks are the most dishonest, and therefore a character who has the most knowledge checks is the most dishonest, right? So they're gonna put like fucking Zafina or whatever up there, right?
Flash is definitely degenerate. I agree 100%. We agree on that. Crushing armor, evasive moves, also a very, very ridiculous thing to have in this game, but a lot of players and characters, a lot of characters have access to those types of moves, and they've always existed in Tekken, or at least since Tekken 5 when the crushing system was first implemented. Again, no, I hate that so much. The agree to disagree, as somebody who debates people all the fucking time, like informally debates people, agree to disagree is the fucking statement that I despise the most in any conversation. We disagree, we agree that we disagree with each other, and that's where the conversation ends. Fuck that. That's not productive for anything. Nobody walks away satisfied, and nobody walks away having learned anything. Everybody walks away from that going, yeah, I'm right, and the other person walks away going, yeah, I'm right. And fucking nothing happened except we wasted each other's time speaking about this shit. Fuck that. We need to reach an agreement here based on logical inferences, inductive reasoning, and observational fucking evidence that we can literally observe by watching what the character is capable of doing in either real time or in practice mode, which I just showcased about Kazuya's mix-up in practice mode in this video, right? So, first of all, agree to disagree, fuck off with that. Again, I'm not trying to be a dick. I like this guy. Chad is a cool guy to me, in my opinion. I've been subscribed to him for several months now. But I fucking hate agree to disagree bullshit. That's not the... No, fuck that. Just to add on to that, to reiterate, knowledge checks, in my opinion, are not dishonest. There's nothing dishonest about a knowledge check in Tekken. If somebody's throwing you because you suck ass at breaking throws, that's not their fault that you don't have the ability to break throws. They're taking advantage of a weakness that they have observed that you have, and now they're exploiting it. That's part of how you win a fight. So, and it applies to games too. So, there's nothing wrong with abusing your throw game versus an opponent who can't break throws. There's nothing wrong with abusing your strings versus an opponent who doesn't know what the fuck to do against those strings. That's not your fault that they didn't lab your character before you got into match with each other. So, that shouldn't even be on the list. At all. Knowledge checks should not be on the list. There's nothing dishonest about a knowledge check. And this is coming from a Kazuya player. I don't have any knowledge checks in my character. We've already established that. Even Chad agrees with that. I have 0 knowledge checks and I have 0 panic buttons. But I have no issue with knowledge checks, because you know what that does? You know what knowledge checks do for me personally? When I get caught in a scenario where I'm getting knowledge checked, I feel like I'm improving as a player, because I know that after this match is over, I'm going to get into replay mode. I'm going to find out what the fuck just happened by labbing the match that I just had, and I'm going to find the hole in that offense by checking out the replay function. And now guess what? That knowledge check will never bother me again. Now I understand, oh, instead of fucking, with Nina's can opener or something, right? Like, all I have to do is remember that as soon as I see her jump in the air, the first thing I should immediately be thinking is low parry. Boom, done. Now I don't need to worry about that shit anymore. As soon as I see her jump in the air, I don't care if it's up forward 3, fucking low parry, and then get up. Because can opener comes out that fast. You got more than enough time to visually acknowledge what she's doing and low parry the attack. Especially since Nina is a character with a fuck ton of highs as the second hit in parts of her strings. So the natural thing that I like to do against a fuck ton of Nina players is just see the first hit, block it, or maybe get hit if it's like down 4 or something, and then immediately duck. Because if it's down forward 3, duck will beat down forward 3 2. If it's down 4, duck will beat down 4 1. If it's fucking, can opener, duck will beat the second hit of can opener. So Nina's got a lot of strings where the second hit is a high, and you can take advantage of that and exploit that and get a free launch from her. Can opener is just another example of that, where the second hit isn't a high, it's a low, but the counterplay is identical. You still block and then get a launch, or you can block low and get a launch, or you can low parry. Either way. So knowledge checks are not dishonest. Let's just get that shit off the fuck out of the way. They're not dishonest.
Say like Yoshi, complete horseshit, right? Or even Asuka, right? Despite the fact that Asuka is relatively low tier, already considered. Like, the fact that you can just escape pressure for free is just like super dishonest, right? And for me personally, I am of the opinion, again, we're in subjective areas, so let's not argue about this, let's have an honest, frank discussion in the comments. I think that mix-ups are the most dishonest. The most. And again, this is coming from someone who plays layout. I have hard-hitting mix-ups. I have the very thing that I am decrying as being dishonest. I also have knowledge checks with my stances. I also have pretty great evasiveness, right? I have all 3 of them. And I'm telling you, A, Leo's dishonest. Don't let anyone tell you that Leo's an honest character. They're not. And secondly, that I think of all of them, the mix-ups are the most dishonest. And the reason for that is because they're the thing that you can do nothing about, right? Knowledge checks you can study and you can get better at. Panic moves you can bait out, right? 50-50s are, once you're in it, you're in it. And so the game, therefore, is to stay out of it. But because of this game design, it is so much harder to move out of mix-up situations. So characters who have hard-hitting mix-ups, I think, are always going to have the advantage of the characters who don't. They just are. They just are, right? And it's always going to feel dishonest. Because in your back pocket, no matter how much better than you I am, or how much better than me you are, if I have access to a hard-hitting mix-up, I can turn this game, or at least 50% of your health bar, into a coin flip game. And let's all be honest. We've all had it done to us, and it fucking sucks. And we've all, depending on the characters we play, done it to other people. And it fucking sucks. Which is why, for me, I say Steve and Brian are, in my opinion, the most honest characters. Because they don't really have the hard-hitting lows to enforce a hard-hitting mix-up. Even Steve's unblockable high, I'm like, whatever, I'll eat like 4 of those. I don't really care. He's risking his whole life whenever he does it. And every time he does it, it's from a clear stance, right? It's from that fucking Lionheart stance. So it's like super predictable. So a good Steve and a good Brian can't really rely on that. They have to go in other areas, right? So that's, but, they do have panic moves between sway and orbital heal, stuff like that, right? They have moves that can crush stuff. They have good power crushes or whatnot. Like, they have options. They have items on my dishonesty list. But, I would still say they don't have the one thing that I think is the most dishonest.
Yeah, he said earlier this is subjective. It's just his opinion. I don't agree. I think that your mix-ups, it depends on the mix-up. Some characters, like I showed earlier with Lars, have mix-ups where you can only guess. Eddie has a move as well that puts you in a scenario where you guess either the Hell Sweep or the Heat Engager mid from relaxed stance, right? He can follow you up with that shit. So with Lars's Den 3, like I just showed earlier, that's a true mix-up. The only thing you can do is guess. The only thing that's going to will potentially beat options for you and stay somewhat safe for you is to guess and stand block. Don't even bother with low blocking, because Silent Entry 2 is not that scary. And the other moves that Lars has from Silent Entry are way stronger and way scarier. So just stand guard, and that's all you can do. You can't sidestep. If you try to sidewalk, you can beat Silent Entry too, but you get fucked up by all the other moves. So there's nothing you can do but stand there and block. With Kazuya, you can sidewalk left into block. So there are options. You can't do that for every move that Kazuya has, but you do have an option. He's not putting you in a scenario where he's forcing you to guess mid or low. Lars puts you in a scenario at +5 with Dynamic Entry 3 where you're forced to guess mid or low. So those are the mix-ups I think are dishonest. I don't think a mix-up where you do have a potential option select for the most basic options that Kazuya has, the most common options Kazuya has, the ones that you're going to see most often. There is option select available for those moves with Kazuya, and I think that diminishes how devastating that mix-up truly is compared to other mix-ups in the game. The most dishonest factor, in my opinion, is just oppressive frames and gameplay and dictating a match. If a character is able to dictate a match and push you along and basically drive every round there in the driver's seat, that to me is the highest level of dishonesty in a character. You see that with characters like Dragunov and Yoshimitsu and Jin and Nina and those types of characters. They're very, very oppressive. That's the highest level of dishonesty in my opinion. And those characters also have a shit ton of mix-ups. Look at fucking Law. Law's mix-up's insane. He's got he's either got the slide or up forward 3+4, the mid high hop kick heat engager that he's got. That mix-up is crazy. The slide also has decent tracking to both sides too. And you don't need to commit or worry about committing to much, because if Law's slide gets parried or blocked, you don't really eat that much damage. But if Law hits you with the slide, you eat about the same amount of damage that you would deliver to Law had you blocked the slide and launch punished him for it, because you only get a float combo. So he doesn't need to nearly commit as much. That type of mix-up as well is more dangerous, in my opinion, than Kazuya's mix-up.
I could acknowledge that Kazuya and Kazuya players, they don't have good panic moves, and they don't have good knowledge checks, right? Which is why I think they got so offended when I even implied that they were a dishonest character. But I would argue that you have the thing that is the most dishonest. And not even just that you have the thing that is the most dishonest. You have one of, if not the best version of the thing that is the most dishonest. Again, let's not get into that who has the best mix-up, whatever, blah, 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 Xiao Yu and Heat, blah, 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 I get it, okay? But you have to be in conversation for having one of the best, one of the most intense mix-ups in the entire game. Which is why I'm like, how honest can we say you are? Doesn't mean you're bad at Tekken, doesn't mean you're cheap, doesn't mean your dick is little, doesn't mean like you're not a good person. Just means that like this idea that like Kazuya is this like super honest character, to me just seems fallacious, right?
Fallacious? Oh man, come on. Fallacious? What fallacy am I committing by saying that Kazuya is an honest character? Or the most honest character in the game? Am I committing a formal fallacy and an informal fallacy? Like, come on, man. I think what you mean by that is a falsehood, not a fallacy. I'm not committing the argument from ignorance fallacy, the argument from personal incredulity or any of that shit. I'm not committing a fucking fallacy by saying that. What you're trying to say here is that Kazuya is dishonest because he has the best mix-up in the game. I will go ahead and say that he has the best 50-50 in the game because that is the focal point of his character. He does have the best 50-50 in the game, in my opinion. But that's all he's really got besides his damage and his insane wall game. In the neutral, like I already reiterated multiple times, and you've reiterated, you need amazing defense to pilot the character. You need insane execution. You require top-notch fundamentals and movement, and on top of that, your poke game is trash. So you really have to be on point with every response that you do versus your opponent, right? The cheap factor comes in once you get your knockdown and then you start applying your vortex. But to initiate the vortex and to start applying it, that takes a lot of skill too. It's not just as simple as just running up and doing shit. You think that Kazuya has the most dishonest thing in the game, and then you proceed to say that he has no panic moves, he requires very high defense to pilot, Kazuya players are working very hard, and that he has no knowledge checks available to him whatsoever. You're making a very solid argument in favor of him being an honest character. Having one thing that you, in your opinion, perceive as dishonest in the game, and having that thing be the best thing in the game for that specific archetype of a thing, in this case Kazuya's mix-up being the best mix-up in the game, that's it though, right? If that's the one thing he's got, is he really dishonest? What if I'm just not able to apply my mix-up? What if my opponent is so strong that I'm not even able to get any knockdowns on them? What then? Am I still playing a dishonest character? I don't know, man. You've made a lot of points in this video. A lot of them, now you're in the subjective scene, and I understand that. We're talking about subjectivity now, so this is not, this no longer extends beyond your opinion. This is just your opinion. But initially, we were talking about stuff that you said you scienced and all that stuff, and I know you were joking about all the people that you got together to science the shit out of this thing. But, you know, like, you were speaking in a sense that what was being said was the God's truth, and so far, all I've heard are just a bunch of opinions, and then a bunch of other arguments in the same video that lend credence to Kazuya's honesty factor, not his dishonesty factor, spoken out of your own mouth. So, is he really dishonest as a character? Kazuya, Devilgent, Brian, and Steve. Those 4 characters to me. I'm glad we agree on Brian and Steve at least, because yeah, those characters are honest as fuck. But Kazuya and Devilgent should be up there too. You gotta, I mean, at least for the fact that you require a ridiculous amount of execution to pilot those characters effectively. Like, that should be all you need to say, okay, well, yeah, if these characters were super easy to use, then they'd be dishonest. But because the work required is ridiculous, that bumps them up to in the honesty department, in my opinion, wouldn't it? There's got to be something to that, right?
And we can agree to disagree, because if for you, the definition of an honest character, or how do I put this? If for you, the most dishonest thing a character can have are defensive escape buttons and knowledge checks, then you're right. Kazuya is probably the single most honest character in this game, right? If that's how you feel. And you're entitled to feel that way. You're entitled to be wrong. It's not my place to make you right, okay? But even if that's how you feel, you should surely acknowledge that it's not unreasonable for people to actually place their weighting in other areas and actually say, well, actually, knowledge checks aren't that bad, but mix-ups are, right? Again, now we are in the realm of subjectivity. And I hope, well, I'm not even hope, this is gonna be my last discussion on the topic. I just want to clear the air. There's a lot of hubbub. I just want to clear that shit up, right? So hopefully, even if you disagree with me, you can at least understand where other people are coming from. But point 2, this slide here is the real reason for this video. And what I'm about to say is actually bigger than Tekken, right? This goes back to that comment I left on the other video, where, look, we are all insecure about things, right? We all have things that, we all have areas of our life where we feel that we come up short. So maybe you're not as good with, let's say, women as you want to be. Maybe you don't earn as much money as you think you should. Perhaps you're not as good with men as you think you should be. Or you're not, the rank in Tekken you think you should be. Or you're not doing well in your locals. Whatever. We all have areas where we feel that we come up short. And I think the real measure of a person is what defensive mechanism they use to deal with the insecurities. And I think the biggest bitch-made insecurity defense mechanism is tearing other people down. And I think that's what I see a lot of in Tekken. And I think a lot of this honesty discussion does that. So it's akin to, you have a guy who's like bad with girls, and he says, you know why I'm bad with girls? It's because I'm too nice. I'm a nice guy, and girls just don't like nice guys. That's what it is. I'm too virtuous. It's not that I'm coming up short. Oh, no. I am too virtuous. Women do it too, right? Like, you know why I'm not doing well with men? It's because I'm a strong, independent woman, and men just can't handle a strong, independent woman, right? We all do it, right? But it's horseshit, and it's really ugly when you see it, right? This needs to be like, oh no, there's nothing wrong with me. It's you. If anything, I'm too virtuous. My character is too honest for this dishonest game. It's so ugly. It's whenever I see it, it's just like I want to slap you.
We 100% agree with everything he said here so far, with that little tidbit of everything he just said. I agree with all that. You shouldn't be putting each other down, unless they play Hwarang. Then obviously, bully the shit out of those people. I'm fucking kidding, but, Hwarang sucks. Anyways, I don't appreciate when Tekken players put each other down. This community is so fucking disappointing with how many ridiculous people exist in the discords, in the message boards, in the fucking YouTube comments, on Twitter. Like, what the fuck is going on? It's a goddamn game, and people are treating it like it's the be all end all of their existence, and if you belittle their character choices or the things that they say in any way, they're just fucking distraught, and they fucking hate you, and you're a piece of shit, and all scorched earth type of shit, right? Like, What is this mentality? Stop putting each other down. Why can't we have evidence-based, civil, honest discussions about this game that we all love? There's zero reason to talk trash about another player unless they play Hwarog, right? You know, because fuck Hwarog players. But no, you know what I mean? I love everybody except Hwarog players. Anyways, the point is, I agree with Chad. This is a dude who I think I could sit down and have an honest discussion with, have a beer with, and we could reach, we wouldn't be this agree to disagree shit would not be involved in our conversation. I think we'd be able to see where each other's sides are coming from and reach some kind of middle ground where we both agree on some level. I think that that's a possibility with Chad, because he seems like a reasonable man to me. So far, I mean, a lot of the stuff in this video that you've said so far has just been, you know, you saying something and then providing no real evidence, like no video footage, you know, no whatever claim you have, you don't really have anything, you didn't really back it up with anything besides your words, and oh, go check out what the pros are doing, and oh, don't listen to the people that say there's option selects, they're gaslighting you, you know, all that stuff is like, to me, that's not really good argumentation, but I'm not going to knock you for that. I don't think you debate people on a regular fucking basis, so I'm not asking for a syllogism when asking you to construct your arguments more thoroughly. I'm just saying that I didn't see anything in your video that warranted swaying my opinion in any way in this regard, because, you know, a little bit of evidence might have really gone a long way. That's why I wanted to input some video footage in from the game itself to show examples of scenarios where mix-ups are bullshit and mix-ups are, you know, tolerable on some level, like Kazuya's versus Lars's bullshit mix-up. Like there is a difference there. Those are both mix-ups in the same regard. One is just more bullshit than the other, because at the end of the day, this game is about counterplay, and defense is very difficult, but counterplay is very important in this game, and if few counterplay options exist, or only one, in some scenarios only one counterplay option exists, which is block, and if that's the case in a mix-up scenario, that's an unhealthy mix-up. You shouldn't just have one option to deal with that mix-up. You should have at least two. That's the nature of Tekken. Ever since this game became a thing, every move in the game, more or less, when it's balanced properly, has had at least two options to beat. You can block it and punish it, or you can duck it, or you can backdash it, or you can sidestep it, or whatever the fuck, you know? Power crush it, interrupt it, whatever. There are always multiple options to deal with scenarios in this game, or in Tekken generally. The mix-ups that I find are dishonest bullshit mix-ups are the ones that don't have more than one option to deal with.
It's far more honest to just be like, actually, yeah, the reason why I'm not doing as well as I am isn't because, you know, my character's too honest on this game is too cheap. It's because, yeah, I'm just really bad at the knowledge checks. Like, I need to do more studying. I need to learn to deal with Nina's, I need to learn to low parry Nina's canopy on reaction. So maybe this weekend I'll study that, right? And also, on a social level, like, as a community, it's really gross for player bases to be like, oh yeah, my character is honest and real, but your character's bullshit. And I think, if you're someone who does that, with all due respect, is there a way I can do, like, anti-subscribe, like, hit the dislike button, I guess? Like, 'cause I don't want you on my channel because you're a bitch. Like, don't be that guy, right? Like, I talk shit about other characters, but the reason I talk shit about the other characters is because, like, I know I'm a bitch in this game. Like, I will be like, your character's cheap as fuck. And if you turn around and be like, yo, but Leo's cheap as fuck too, I'm like, yeah, you're right. That's why I play him, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's one thing to be like, yo, we're all cheap, but it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of ugly to be like, nah, my character's like legit, real, and your character's horseshit. It's fucked up. And I think if you do that, I don't know, it's bigger than, I don't know, I'm rambling now, but it's bigger than Tekken. Like, you're kind of bitch made if you do that.
No, he's totally right. And for the record, again, I don't think Leo is dishonest, and I don't think Kazuya is dishonest. I don't really feel like a lot of, I don't know. Leo, to me, Leo has more cheap shit than Kazuya does, in my opinion, and Leo's a fuck ton easier to use than Kazuya. So there's that. But they're both honest characters. Paul's honest. Brian's, well, I mean, like I already said, Brian, Devils, and Kazuya Steve are the most honest characters in the game. Other characters in the game have shit about them that can be considered dishonest. In my opinion, Leo's down forward 2+3 and Leo's heat smash are pretty dishonest moves, but everything else he's got, more or less you can deal with it like you would any other Tekken move. Jin's got some bullshit. He's a very dishonest character. Yoshimitsu's a very dishonest character. Dragunov, very dishonest character. Nina, very dishonest character. Like, these are the characters that dictate matches, and that's what I feel should be addressed when talking about honesty in a character. Does the character allow you to play Tekken with your character? Not really? Well, then that character probably has some issues that need to be addressed in terms of their coding, like down-tuning their moves a little bit so that you can play more Tekken around them. In my opinion, honest Tekken is being able to play Tekken versus an opponent who's also able to play Tekken. That's honest Tekken. And when you play against Dragunov or Fang, or you know, like characters like that, even Alisa in a lot of ways, Law in a lot of ways, they dictate matches to a degree that makes it so you're not really allowed to play your Tekken. You just kind of have to answer to what they're doing. That's how I would summarize dishonest Tekken. He continues with the video a little bit, and he says his business, but for the most part, we're done with the response video now. That was an interesting discussion. I'm glad to be a part of these discussions. I really enjoy having talks with the community. I love response videos, so Chad, if you want, brother, feel free to do a response video in response to this one yourself. Would love to hear your thoughts. Maybe we can get a healthy back and forth going and set a decent example as to what a true disagreement in the community should look like. I have no ill will towards Chad. I have no ill will towards his character. I don't really know the matchup for Leo, but I have, no problems with the character. As I said, I'm a fan of Chad's. I've been watching his content for a few months now. I disagree with his standpoint on the honesty factor of certain characters in the game, but I'm not going to, shove my fist down his fucking throat and beat the shit out of him for it just because we disagree. And that's something I think this Tekken community especially should learn how to do properly. Because I used to be a part of the Mishima Zaibatsu Discord, and the people in that fucking Discord are, a lot of them are good, but a few of them were a fucking joke of a human being. Just, if I had a differing opinion compared to something that they had as an opinion, I would just get shit on, because my opinion is worthless, and I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, and etc. and so forth, right? So I left the Discord because I don't fucking agree with that style of argumentation. I think that that's lowbrow, dumbass bullshit. That's not something that I have the time for. I'd rather just be enjoying myself playing Tekken. If you're gonna be a bitch like that, I have no fucking time for you. I have no respect for you. And I'd probably kick the shit out of you in the game anyways. But if you're gonna have an honest discussion with somebody, be respectable about it, or not respectable, be respectable and be respectful towards each other, then we both can learn and prosper from the discussion, as well as everyone else who watches the discussion. So just take that into consideration, future people that are watching this that have disagreements with each other, and maybe be a little kinder in the community, So anyways, awesome video, Chad. I disagree. Kazuya is an extremely honest character in this game for all the reasons that I went off about in this video. If you'd like to do a response, fantastic. If not, I understand that as well. But great video on your part. I appreciate you taking the time to put it all together, and especially with the detail that you did, with the PowerPoint and everything. Sick, man. So like, comment, and subscribe in my video. Go subscribe to Chad. His channel's in the description, so feel free to look for that and then click on the link and subscribe to him, because he's a great Tekken player and deserves more of a following as well. So yeah, anyways, that's it from me. I hope this pretty much covered everything I wanted to say. If it didn't, I'll probably say something else in the comments. But yeah, that was good shit. Thanks for the discussion, Chad. Everybody else, keep rocking out and keep gaming.